Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Daniela and in today's video I will show you what my bead crochet ball patterns look like. I will explain how they differ from others or actually from a simple classic output from the software. I will also demonstrate how to work with them and how to read them. First, let's take a look at the default PDF output from the software and see what the pattern looks like when I generate it without making any modifications. Most of the patterns you can find on the internet are probably in this form. So on this first page you can see a graphical visualization. The first column is draft, the second is corrected, and the third is simulation. To give you a brief orientation of what's what, just briefly, draft is a flat visualization of the pattern. It is possible to string according to this pattern, although it is not very practical. Next chart is corrected. You also see the whole pattern as with draft, but there is an added twist. When you do a bead slip stitch or a single crochet, the pattern twists at a certain angle, and the corrected chart takes this into account. And simulation is how the finished bead crochet product will look. It doesn't make that much sense for this ball, but it is quite useful for bead crochet ropes. But let's not dwell on that for too long. On the next page we have some information. The name and author are quite clear. Then we have circumference, repeat of colors, rows per repeat, and so on, but none of these details make sense for balls. All the software I know of where you can design balls are not primarily intended for balls, so they think you want to design a bead crochet rope. That's why it doesn't make sense. I know of one app specifically for balls called Beaded Bead Designer, but as I found out, it doesn't work for larger balls. It had trouble with my 6 cm ball, so it's useless to me. But it's a pity, otherwise it would be great. However, it seems the author of this app is no longer involved and even his website is not working. Then we have just a list of the beads. This assumes that you really know what you are doing, because from this you have to recognize where one row ends, where another begins, where to decrease beads, where to increase, and so on. So just to give you an idea what the raw output looks like. And now let's take a look at what I've done with it and what the patterns look like that I sell on Etsy or give away for free to my patrons and YouTube members, or I also offer free download patterns with my videos. For example, this one you can download right away. I draw it for everyone and the download link is in the video description down below. On the first page I have draft, corrected, and simulation. I just divided it and make it a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. And you may have noticed that there's this extra colorful row here. I will explain what it is for in a moment. On the next page I have information that will guide you through what you are actually supposed to do with the pattern. The name and author are clear. Then I have the recommended brand of beads that I used for the simple piece. The size of the ball for which the pattern is designed, that means the inner ball, the one you will be putting inside. Then information about the recommended size of thread and hook, and quite important information about whether you need to use a turning chain or not. That's quite important. If you have some experience you will recognize it by the graphic appearance of the pattern, but it's better to emphasize it, because if it's a pattern where the turning chain is needed and you don't do it at the end of the row, you will have a shift in the pattern. The connection of the left and right sides won't be correct. And then I have instructions. Here the white beads just form the background, so we will not be threading them. I emphasize this here because sometimes someone asks about it. And now I'm getting to my colored markers. Here in the list of the beads you see places where instead of beads you will thread a color paper with a label that you prepare in advance. It's for easier orientation in the pattern and so that you have no doubts about what you are actually supposed to do when crocheting. When we crochet, we actually crochet from the bottom up and from left to right. So the first thing you will encounter is these red markers. So when you are crocheting and instead of a bead you have the first marker threaded, which will be this 0 plus 2, you will know that the first number means how many beads you will crochet into an individual loop, in this case 0. The second number means that you'll be crocheting 2 beads into one loop, so you will be increasing. And you repeat this whole thing 6 times in a row because the pattern, the ball, has 6 points. When you come across the green markers, you will be crocheting continuously. You will not be increasing or decreasing beads. However, it still applies that you'll be making a turning chain in each row. That applies to the whole ball. And finally, you will come across pink markers, which means you will be decreasing. The first one you will encounter is this X plus 10. That means you will skip one loop and then crochet 10 beads, each into individual loop. Then I also list the necessary amount of beads. Here you see individual pieces and here it's converted into grams, so you know how much to buy. I also list recommended colors and codes, which of course you don't have to stick to, you can create your own color combinations. Here are always listed the colors from which I make the sample pieces. Here's the pattern in more detail. In case you make a mistake while crocheting, here you can find out exactly what doesn't fit. Finally, here's the whole list of the beads, and that's all. This way you have everything you need in one place, you don't have to guess the size of the ball, turning chain, where rows start and end, where to increase, where to decrease, and so on. So that's all for today, and in the next video I will show you how I crocheted this ball. I'd be glad if you like this video or even subscribe. We'll be soon 50,000 here, which is absolutely amazing. Thanks to everyone. Happy crocheting and see you next time!